YouTube, what's going on, guys? My name is Mike. I'm back with another video, and today we're talking about leaf mold compost. And as you can see behind me here, it's a big pile of leaves. These are leaves that I collect from the local dump. It's just waste. The township goes around, picks up all the leaves from people's front yards that they want to get rid of. They bring them to the township brush dump, make a big pile, and then I come and I take as I want. The sun is going to be poking through, but it's cold here in New Jersey, because you can see I'm in my cold weather gear. It's in the high 20s, low 30s, depending on wind chill and all those other factors. But I'll tell you right now, it's cold. So you'll see me on the tractor. You'll probably see my breath. It's going to be getting dark here soon, as it does this time of year. It gets dark really soon. But I'm going to be jumping the tractor. I'm going to turn this pile, and while I'm turning it, I'll do a little voiceover and I'll explain to you what leaf mold is, why I like to use it, and why you guys should like to use it as well. So stay tuned. Let's get right into it.
Alright guys, so as you can see in this very blurry picture of my thermometer, the leaf mold compost pile right now is about 140 degrees. And that's technically in the hot sector of that little thermometer there, which means it's time to turn. So I'm going to be turning this with my tractor. It's just too much to turn with a pitchfork, so I try to do this once a week. But I want to go over some details and some facts about leaf mold while we go and turn this pile. So number one, what is leaf mold? What is this stuff? Well, it's a form of compost that's a lot less active than your typical Berkeley method compost pile, where you're adding a lot of nitrogen, also with a lot of carbon, and you're turning it frequently and adding water frequently to speed up that process of compost. This is a much less active way around composting, and you end up with a less active or high in nutrient medium. So this is a great way to kind of take advantage of the fall leaves, make a pile, turn it once in a while, and you'll get a beautiful black coffee grind rich material that doesn't have a ton of nutrients in it, but it has a lot of great microbiology and activity in terms of biology. So that's the gist of what leaf mold compost is. It's just leaves. So I want to go over what leaves are. So leaves, they're pretty much a low nitrogen content, especially when they're dead like this. When they're green, they have high nitrogen. So if you're composting green material, that's typically high in nitrogen, and when you're composting brown material, that's typically high in carbon. Now, there's some exceptions to that, like coffee grinds are nitrogen, but those are brown. But let's just go with the base idea that green is nitrogen, brown is carbon. So they're considered material with low carbon, and they have two main constituents that make up leaves, which is cellulose and lignin. These two molecules are pretty resistant to degradation. They break down very, very slowly on their own. So in the forest, it's not uncommon to see last year's leaves on the floor in the spring and summer. They don't break down as fast as, let's say, grass clippings that were left to scatter around on your yard. Those are gone in almost a week or two. So it's because of the lignin and the cellulose that make it slow to break down. But this is where the mold comes in the leaf mold compost. So there's a species of fungi that colonize and grow in leaf piles as it cools down and produces extracellular enzymes, which do a really quick job of breaking down the complex chains that make up the plant polymers and cellulose and lignin and all these other compounds. So it's the fungi that's really speeding up the decomposition here. And the way they do that is they use enzymes. And what the enzymes do is basically it's just like our stomach, where our stomach digests food using enzymes. Fungi do the same thing, except they do it externally. They do it outside of their bodies. So they kind of shoot out a little bit of enzymes. And I'm going to simplify this a lot, guys. Don't, all the scientists out there, don't yell at me, but this is how I understand it works. The fungi moves in close, and it kind of shoots out some enzymes next to or on top of the material it wants to decompose, and then those enzymes get to work, and the fungi kind of grows into those enzymes as they break down those leaves, and it absorbs the nutrients. And then the fungi move those nutrients in their cellular bodies once it's absorbed and inside of them. So they can continue that process by growing into their food source as opposed to eating it. And that's what the fungi does to decompose the leaf mold. And those enzymes really break down those lignins and those really tough to break down polymer chains. So this process, start to finish, if left on its own, will take about 1 to 3 years. But that's only if we just left the pile as it sits, never did anything to it. It would take that long. But we can speed that up just by turning it with a pitchfork, or in my case here, a tractor, just turning it over as frequently as you can. You're going to be basically mixing all that fungi and all those enzymes together, which once they settle, once they kind of move into each other, it speeds up the process. So you can get this process done in just a few months. Now, there's a note there. It won't be fully 100% broken down into this humic matter, that coffee grind texture, beautiful compost that we're all looking for, but it will be usable. It'll be usable to put in your raised beds, mix them with your soils, make teas out of, compost teas. So that it'll be usable material, and then once it's in its final place, whether it's your garden bed or your pot of whatever you're growing in, it'll continue to break down, and that fungi will continue to make that process happen, and it'll just get better and better with time. So the goal here is just getting it to like that 80% done where it's usable and it's not leaves anymore. And that's what I'm going to be trying to do and get that done before the spring comes. So leaf mold is not high in nutrients. You'll need to amend it. That's the key here. You're not going to get a complete potting soil ready to plant your flowers or your vegetables in just by doing this. You have to add some NPK, some fertilizer. I use organic. Everything's organic on my little property here, my homestead. So that could be oyster shell, alfalfa meal, crab meal. There's a company called Down to Earth Organics, I believe, and they do a great job making these whole organic amendments that are completely plant available, and they're in their whole form. So when you order crab shell meal, it comes as literal crab shell. It smells like crab. So check them out. It's called Down to Earth. They make a great fertilizer. And this stuff, when it's all broken down, the leaf mold, when it's all broken down, will make a great humic conditioner. So you can use this stuff to mix into your already made up garden bed, or you can use it to start as the base medium as your garden bed and mix some of those amendments in, and it'll be a wonderful amendment for you. Even more so, why this leaf mold is amazing and awesome for your garden is it has an amazing way of attracting and growing a ton of garden-friendly microbiology, which is your earthworms and your isopods, your millipedes, all your little roly-poly bugs. Those are the good guys in your garden soil, the good bugs that you want to have decomposing and help speeding up, breaking down your garden soil into great plant amendment nutrition. So this is like a safe haven for them, especially in the winter here where it's really cold, because as you can see, the pile stays hot. Now it's not going to stay this hot always. It's I think the reason why it's really hot, steaming up like this, is it's burning off any residual nitrogen that came in the original leaves. This burns off pretty quick, and the pile stays at a consistent 60 to 80 degree temperature. It's not considered a thermophilic compost pile. So it'll cool down, but at that perfect sweet spot between 60 and 80 degrees, it'll attract all these bugs, and they'll kind of hibernate over the winter in this pile and continue to help breaking things down. And all of that biology goes with the leaf pile right into your garden bed. So it's a wonderful way of just attracting indigenous biology from your area, wherever you guys are from, to your garden, exactly just by the act of nature. So letting nature do its thing. if you put it there, they'll find their way to it. And it really is incredible when you start to dig around. You'll see earthworms that are like, you know, a foot long and really healthy, bright in color. Like, they really do enjoy living in this stuff, and I'm happy to give them a place to stay. So, rent free. Anyway, I do want to bring up some drawbacks or some negatives before we wrap this video up, and that is you just want to really be careful about where you're getting your leaves from. So in my case, I get it from a township dump. The town dumps the leaves off. They mostly come from parks and from, you know, residential areas. Now, if you're getting your leaves off the street where people kind of put them up, there could be a chance that they're contaminated. People might use these leaves for God knows what, but they might contain oil or pesticides or herbicides. There's always a chance. I mean, it's a risk that I take, and I get my soil tested for that stuff just in case, but it's, you know, there is a chance. It's rare, but you never know. So you want to keep in mind that if you can get your leaves off of your property or someone that you know, do that, because it'll definitely protect you from some of the sketchy stuff that happens in the commercial and private, you know, tree conditioning space in terms of herbicides. So keep an eye out for that. Also, another thing you want to keep in note is turn this when you can. Turn it. I try to turn it maybe once every 2 weeks. But if you don't turn it and it gets really wet, it'll definitely become anaerobic at the bottom, and then the leaves will also mat together and create little micro anaerobic pockets. So if you can, shred the leaves. If not, turn it. Just the act of turning it will shred them eventually as you work that material. But you won't have any problems as long as you continue to turn it. And if you can't turn it, the anaerobic conditions do happen. It's not the end of the world. You're not gonna, you'll just have to use the top of the pile, mix it, and then allow those anaerobic conditions to dissipate, and you'll be okay with using this material. So yeah, there's really not too many drawbacks to leaf mold compost. You guys should definitely have this and have a pile on your property. So with all that, let's get to the outro here. Before I let you guys go, I do want to note one thing. If you like this type of video, if you like this voiceover, this was something new I never did before, hit the thumbs up, comment, hey, want to see more of this. That really helps me out in driving the direction on what type of content I put out, what you guys like to see. It really does help if you hit the subscribe button as well. That is only going to help fuel the channel and build it up, and it only helps. It costs nothing. And the last thing before I let you guys go is I definitely just make sure that you enjoy this hobby. Make sure if you're going to make a leaf mold pile, don't make it a chore. Enjoy it. Get outside. I know it can be cold this time of year, but there's some good in that. And that's why we're all here. So
go get yourself a pile of leaves and turn it into leaf mold. See you guys in the next one. Take care.